Hey, Will, welcome to our podcast today. We're so excited to have you here.
No, thank you guys for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here too.
So,
Our pleasure.
um, tell us, Will, what's new at HMI? Because, you know, they're, as I said in the intro, they're celebrating this huge anniversary this year. I think it's 45 years in business. And I
I
don't
think it's
know.
50. Yeah.
It's 50? Okay,
Yeah.
it's 50. I'm going to have to change my intro. It's 50 years. I mean, that alone is amazing. So it tells you the secret sauce. They have the secret sauce to not only maintaining a business, but growing a business. So that's a whole other subject to talk about. But so tell us what's new at HMI and in the industry, because there's so much going on, actually.
Right. Yeah. Well, gosh, for obviously like 50 years, they've been doing concrete lifting and really specializing in doing mud jacking. And
Mhm.
in the last 12 years or so, they got into polyurethane, using polyurethane to lift
Mhm.
concrete slabs. Um, but this year, we're really kind of taking a step into doing more than just concrete lifting.
Mhm.
Previously they've dabbled into deep foam injection, which is injecting polyurethane foam into the ground to improve the soil conditions and in lift structures and whatnot. But there's much more that can be done with polyurethane than just lifting concrete. So
Mhm.
we're releasing about 4 new products, all focused on kind of ground improvement. And so one of them is a caulk. It's for sealing concrete joints and whatnot. It's got really high adhesion. Another one is an acrylic grout. It's
Mhm.
for waterproofing and making improving the soil strength. It's for kind of like almost cementing soil together. It's really great for there's a lot of different applications for it. We also have a single component foam coming out. It's meaning it's activated by water, so it's not two components. Typically,
Wow.
polyurethane is two components being injected. This would just be one component, and water in the soil is actually the catalyst for that reaction. And then the final product is a clay stabilizer. It's reduces the swell potential of clay soils, which is a common problem in different parts of the country. So it's funny, a lot of this stuff kind of revolves around water, and that's kind of why I'm here as an engineer. Is water is the catalyst for really all soil related problems, and
Mhm.
so we're trying to find the solution for all these, and a lot of these treatments are not really invasive at all. That's kind of the benefit that we're offering. So
Mm.
Okay. And
Sounds like a
and
huge potential in the in that whole area of think of ground. When you say um, ground, what's the
improvement,
term? Ground improvement. I'm thinking
yeah.
I'm gonna improve my lawn or something. That's what I
You don't
think.
really know what it means. I know.
Yeah.
Well,
well,
that's the thing.
and
It's
I just want to say that we have a friend that we were in Disney with. You know who could really use some help with even mud jacking is Disney. She
oh
had
yeah.
was carrying a tray of food at the pool and
Oh.
it wasn't level
Hmm.
and her foot stopped at where the leveling stopped and she went head first right over.
Oof.
Food is
Yeah.
up in the air. She's all cut and bruised and she didn't even get I'm sorry from Disney. I would have thought a gift card, it was
Right.
bleeding and bruising and all that. So I thought of you guys when I was down in Florida.
Yeah. Well, so we for years have been releveling concrete, and like the reason why it's settling isn't because of the concrete at all. It's really just the soils underneath there. And so typically when concrete settles, not all I mean, not all the time it's going to be the most drastic issue going on, but soil underneath there is really settling. That's what's going on. It's consolidating. And typically it has to do with the drainage around that area. If you notice where concrete
Mhm.
settles, there's usually water that's pooling around there. And that kind of cycle of water coming in, water coming out, it just consolidates the soils underneath that concrete and then it starts to settle. So sometimes, if you just relevel that concrete, it might settle again down the road. because that soil problem hasn't been remediated. And
Right.
so what we're doing is, that's our big focus now, is to try and remediate the real problem. And obviously, it gives our contractors and customers just another tool in their belt if they really want to try to fix the real problem.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So tell us a little bit more about your position at HMI and how you being there and what you do impacts the entire customer base.
Yeah. So, what I do is, for any of our customers, like we offer free engineering support, and that kind of entails just from any point in the project, whether it's like the bidding stage or during a project or after a project. I'm just there to support them. So in the bidding stage, if they're looking for an estimate on, how much material it might need to do whatever the scope of work is, I help them with that, and also maybe give them some ideas on what challenges they might need to overcome. Try to give them another perspective to consider while they're doing the work. If there's an engineer involved for these bigger projects, usually there might be an engineer involved. They might not be familiar with the project or the application technique that we're doing. So I'll educate them and talk to them and make sure everyone's just comfortable with what's going on, and everyone has a full understanding. Then during a project, if there's any challenges that happen, or realistically, we're dealing with stuff that's underground. We don't have X-ray vision. We don't really know, what the real soil conditions are. It's all an educated guess. So a lot of times you need to adjust on the fly, and I can help them with that too. If the plan is, needs to be altered a little bit. And then for after a project's been completed, really it's just we could do case studies for them and just kind of highlight the work that they've done. So it's just at any phase of a project, help them out. And then really my job is just to make sure they're having successful projects, and their success is our success.
Right, right.
So
yeah, we say that a lot too. We're in that same area where if our customers succeed, then we succeed. They don't, then we got a problem.
It's important. Right. It's all really, it's funny, the term ground improvement, it's been around forever. But realistically, we're using more nuanced, different materials to try and improve the soil conditions. So it's a budding industry. It's a newer industry in terms of the products that we're using. They've been around forever, but they haven't been really well studied. And that's what I'm also really excited about too, is to try and study the applications and really actually get some quantitative data out there where we can, instead of kind of, being like, oh, hey, this worked, so therefore it's going to work for your project. We really want to actually measure it and be like, this worked by this much, and this is exactly the conditions that it worked under, and we can kind of match them around. So essentially, not every solution, there's no one product that's going to be the one size fit all solution for anything. And that's the big thing we're about too. One of my coworkers, she always says, she's like, when the only thing you have if you only have a hammer, then you start seeing everything as a nail. And that's kind of a big thing. And so, we're trying to avoid that. We want to make sure we're putting in the right product, whether it's just one or maybe multiple applications. For one project, we could have multiple products that we use. So,
well, and HMI is doing something right because they've been around for 50 years. That says it all. And when we first met HMI 10 years ago, I was so impressed by their level of dedication, and they put their money where their mouth is. They just don't say they're going to do X, Y, and Z. They actually follow through and do it. They're a very committed team, committed to education. We just don't see that in the marketplace. And so, we have the secret formula with HMI, and we're very protective. That's in a vault, and that doesn't come out unless you're an HMI customer. So it's their process is so specific and unique. And it's taken so long, and others try to copy them, They try like hell, but they don't have the secret sauce. And HMI does a really great job at continually improving the process, which is why they're so successful.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I agree completely. I honestly, I'm an engineer, but I also did contracting too.
Mhm.
And I, knew a lot about polyurethane foam and lifting and everything like that. But when I came here for the first time and saw like their training seminar on how to lift concrete, I was blown away. I was like, dang, this is, I mean, realistically, like they make it to where anyone can do it. And that is
Right.
a really tough challenge when you make something that's a little complicated, really simplified. And that's what we're actually really trying to work towards with ground improvement is do the same thing, make
Mhm.
it to where we're trying to take it to where, it's not so a complicated process, make it to where everyone feels comfortable doing this type of work.
Mhm.
So that's, yeah, we really are focused on education and that is a big part of what we do.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like you all guys are also taking you've got, products that have a lot of engineering in them, but it sounds like you're going to offer more of the process behind how you go about determining how you're going to do this project. How, what's the real win to get when we get to the end of this project, and it's not necessarily just pumping some foam in the ground. There may be other technologies that you can use to really reinforce that building that you're doing with not necessarily a huge more amount of effort. It's just having the knowledge of, well, if you do this first, this is going to last for 20 years. If you don't, well, it depends on water flow, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Really kind of
Right.
interesting.
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges is for doing bigger projects or just really in ground improvement. You don't have all the necessary like information available all the time. And
Right.
so that's another thing too. It's also, educating them being like, might need a little bit more information for this than what you previously are used to getting.
Right.
And if you can't get it, then what we can do is just, at least set the expectations for if
Sure.
this happens, we're going to have to try to reconsider doing something else, taking this approach. And yeah, ground is, I really wish we had x-ray vision. I really do. That would make it so much easier.
We'll
Yeah.
have to hire a Superman.
Is
Right.
there any
I've been looking.
technology like on the horizon for I'm going to use, for lack of a better understanding, like a sonar type technology
Mhm.
that can be used, or is that way too expensive to apply?
Yeah. So yeah, it's called geophysics. And so yeah, there's ground penetrating radar as well. And
Okay.
so it's it's used a lot all the time in the industry. But the issue with that technology is typically it's only reliable for really deep depths, and it gives you a great
Okay.
idea of kind of a general profile. But a lot of times what we're doing is actually kind of within that like 10-foot range or so. And it doesn't give you that same accuracy. It's good. I mean, it gives you very good information realistically, but it's also a little more expensive. You need a specialized expert to
Sure.
go out there, and a lot of times it's not feasible. But when we do have that stuff, it is really cool to look at, and it gives us a lot of information.
Yeah, that's got to depend upon. I'm sure that depends in a big part of that is how big the project is. It's probably at a certain size, it's probably not worth doing that, but at a certain size, it becomes imperative. I'm sure.
Yeah, for large ones, it's really kind of almost standard.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we're dealing with small and large, kind of across the board, everything. So
yeah, that's wild.
hmm
Do you in terms of back to ground improvement, are you working on like a checklist sort of process or something that you can help people on a simple level to do a better evaluation of the site before they determine the exact procedure they want to use?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, a change in direction than compared to concrete lifting. With concrete lifting, you typically are just looking at square footage, maybe a void space
Right.
underneath there. And how much you need to lift it up. So for this, it would be more, yeah, you need to have an idea of what the soil conditions are.
Mhm.
So first and foremost, like whenever something comes in, a project comes in, I'm always trying to get an idea of where it is. Even like a visual aerial photo can tell you a lot. Google Earth, you can go and look back and look at the history. Maybe if you're lucky, up to like
Sure.
90 years or so, and you can see how that property has been developed and the history of it. And maybe all of a sudden, you have a seed development. I've seen this time and time again where you have a development and then you look back and there's a massive river or wash coming through there, and you're like, oh, well, no wonder they're having a lot of settlement.
Yeah.
And so, looking at historic information is important. Get an idea of what the history of that property was, and then soil conditions are always great. A geotechnical report, but a lot of times it's not the most feasible. So another thing too that we're trying to offer for our customers is give them some tools to where they can actually maybe do some soil testing themselves, and they don't need to hire another engineer. They could actually just kind of do the testing themselves and then send it to us, and we can help them look at that data and interpret it. And that helps a lot with them bidding projects and understanding what needs to be done.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like you're great. I mean, the role that you're playing sounds like huge value to your customers in terms of them being able to get more help and understand more about the processes. And like you said, I guess the other the area for explanation is, I think, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but concrete lifting is pretty straightforward and understandable in a lot of respects, because it's okay, this is down an inch and we need to get it not to be down an inch. So
Right.
Yes, there could be a lot of complications too, but it's fairly straightforward. Can you talk about some of the other ground repair areas that are, not necessarily just, sidewalk lifting, but maybe more, technical or structural, or because I know some of the new products are more oriented towards that.
Yeah. So for, like a 2-component polyurethane, which is what you use to lift concrete, slightly change in the formulation. You change just kind of the reaction profile, and you can use that to lift buildings. As that foam gets pumped into the ground, it's going to expand and it densifies the soil. It also permeates into the soil too, and surrounds those particles, and really makes an incredibly strong soil mass. And from there, you can build enough pressure to start lifting structures. And then, so that's for 2-component polyurethane. That's common application. It just takes a little bit of, it takes a little nuance. You have to understand, you could pump too much. It's realistically with foam, it's just like concrete lifting. It's a one-way ticket. You're not gonna bring it down. So then what we have now with the acrylic grout, we have an acrylic grout that we're releasing, and it's non-expansive, which is actually a great it's a great thing for when you're injecting near maybe a sensitive area. You don't want any lift at all. It's called permeation grouting. So you're just letting it kind of permeate through the soil particles, and then it hardens up and really increases the strength. Yeah. And so
that's more for like a stabilization concept than a lifting per se. You want to keep it from going away, not necessarily change its elevation.
Yes, exactly. And also with that acrylic grout too, you can use it for waterproofing because it's hydrophilic. It loves a wet environment. And so right now, like we're using that product for some trenches, excavations, deep excavations, and there's water, groundwater table is really high, water permeating through. We're gonna inject in that soil around there, solidifying it, make sure it doesn't fail. But the real big thing is what it's doing is it's stopping that water from coming into that excavation. They don't need to pump it out as much, and so it's good for waterproofing as well. And then same with kind of similar with the single component foam. It's just a 1-part polyurethane that reacts with water. That's great for using, same thing, stabilization, injecting in the area where you don't want to lift. Like we're injecting it behind walls, seawalls especially, where if you inject it, you're not going to have that same expansion pressure. It might, be too much and blow out the wall, but it permeates through that soil, and you can customize how quickly it reacts and how fast it reacts.
Mhm.
So it's just given. It's like instead of using a huge knife, now you're using kind of a more surgical knife for things, and you're just being a little more surgical in the application for stuff.
Cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
It's so
And then,
fascinating, even to me.
Right. Yeah.
You should
And
see me
then-
at the World of Concrete. I just stand out front of the HMI booth and I watch all the demos, and I think it's so incredibly cool.
Man, they pump them out. They do a lot. And
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most fun demos, objectively,
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think
Yeah.
it's a
We
show.
feel the same way.
It's hard
Yeah.
to walk
And-
away from that without a good feeling for, wow, that's really,
incredible.
A, it was
Right.
fast. B, it was seemed pretty easy to do, and worked perfectly.
Well,
Great.
One of the things too we're releasing as well is a new gun for concrete lifting.
Mhm.
And this and it's essentially a remote control gun. You don't even need to be on your knee at all. You just wheel it over there, twist it,
Wow.
and then it's going to be remote control. So if you really want to try to make sure that sometimes when you're lifting and you're on the gun yourself, it's tough to kind of understand what's going on. And,
Sure,
it's a little tough. So
Right.
if it's remote control, you can watch an area from afar, start, and just literally it stops as soon as you have that control. Once you let go of the button, it's immediately done and you stop lifting. So that's a pretty cool thing that they've developed as well, that we're releasing as well. And everything that we release is through Raised Right, which is our contracting kind of arm.
Yeah.
And they tested out. They've been testing that gun out and using it in the field for the last year, actually. So
Wow.
yeah, that's another thing we're excited about too.
So
Not
existing,
to mention a lot easier on the body of the poor guy who's out there up and down.
right?
Yeah.
I recently installed a gym floor at my house, and I realized, wow, I just did 250 squats. That was crazy.
There you go.
Can you imagine
I
doing that
know.
all day long?
I know.
I know. I think maybe with the gun people who are retired, they might come out of retirement and get back into it.
Exactly. Well, I was just going to mention that, since you guys have been in business for 50 years now, can your existing clients purchase and incorporate this new technology into their business?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So everything we do, we're doing it on a project basis. New gun as well. Everything's just kind of, we want to make sure everyone has success when they use it. So,
Right.
we're not just kind of being like, okay,
Right.
you get one, you get one, you get one. We're trying to make sure that, because it's a learning curve on our end too,
Right.
everything's new.
Right.
We want to make sure we are educated enough on the support and we're able to troubleshoot anything before kind of releasing it en masse. So it seems like a really slow rollout, but it's really deliberate and methodical. And that's kind of the approach that, for 50 years they've been taking. So,
Wow.
Right.
It's pretty
That's good.
incredible.
I mean, it's great to do. I have to say that in the software business in the old days, everybody had their own copy of things. So you could say, okay, I'll give you the update, but nobody else right now. In the SaaS world, it's like, okay, everybody's getting this tomorrow. Watch out.
right.
Everyone's getting this in the middle of the night and when they wake
Yeah.
up.
Right. And then that one didn't work. So you get the next one the next morning.
Yeah. Exactly. Roll back.
Yeah.
We do really try to make sure everything is tested, but
Yeah, I'm
Right.
sure.
we're not machines, so sometimes you give things with a bug in it, but then you just roll it right back and
Yeah.
fix
The,
it.
the limited real field testing though is really valuable. I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing
Absolutely.
we can play with it in the lab all we want, and we're not going to experience what is going to happen with the first 10 users of something that are, there's always something.
Right.
That's
Right.
Good.
yeah,
Good.
that's I think that's one of the toughest things is just whenever I do something that's, for a project or anything like that, I'm always thinking of like what could go wrong. And
Mm.
it's, in past like things that you haven't thought of before. That's why experience is important and you learn from those experiences, but you could rack your brain. We're not the best at thinking things outside the box as humans, you know,
Yeah,
and
right.
stuff. So we
Yes.
always are driven by our own little like kind of bias of this is going to work 100%. And so yeah, it's healthy to take a step back and be like, hey, you know, what could possibly go wrong, you know?
Right.
So
Imagine
It
what
is
the
huge.
astronauts have to deal with. You don't want to be in
Right.
mid-flight and have something.
well, that was
Yeah.
I think that
Oops.
was like one of the complaints with NASA was they just operate so slowly and methodically.
Mm,
You know, so but I don't think it's a bad thing. I really
No,
don't.
yeah.
no, not when
It
you're
is
up
an
in space.
it is an interesting difference between NASA and Elon Musk, where Elon Musk's theory is do it a whole bunch of times with no risk because no people risk money, but do it a whole bunch of times, watch it break, and then fix it, and then and I think, and sadly, I think he gets there faster than the okay, let's make sure everything's perfect before we do anything with it approach,
Right.
because it's
Of
hard.
course.
Like you said, you're never gonna find everything until you actually put the thing into action
Right,
and see
right.
what
Yeah.
reality is.
Yeah. And for him to do that, he's the only, you know, person involved in that process. So
Right.
not hurting anyone, you know, I think
Exactly.
it's smart.
Yeah.
It's smart to go about
There's
that.
no human risk in what he's doing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
of course, you might not want to be the first one to go up in that rocket that just blew up 10 times before they got to the one they said is good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting time we live in right now.
Right. I know.
It is for sure. For sure.
So, Will, tell us a little bit more about how your role plays into the HMI commitment, because that's for people who don't know HMI, talking about the HMI commitment is so impactful because they just are so truly committed to their customer base and the success and moving technology forward. So share with us how your role fits into that commitment.
Yeah. I mean, it's always coming down to just making sure our contractors are going to have success with their projects. And, you know, when you're doing this type of work, you want to make sure that kind of everything's been thought out before and there's no real surprises. And so that's how I try to set everyone up, make sure that everyone's aware, crystal clear. It might be annoying to answer every single question, be like, oh, you're overthinking everything. But just in case, you know, just in case like the conditions are a little bit different than when you expected. And, you know, there's a way to go from plan A to also plan B. And, you know, we're not just stuck with one way to do things. And so, you know, that's big. Again, training's a big part of all this. We're going to be doing seminars, training for more advanced techniques on how to do things. And that's kind of what we're excited for that. And it's just, you know, we're already doing, I mean, they've already done marketing support. You know, we do offer marketing and marketing packages, wraps for, you know, everything. You know, the support for people in the field, you know, on equipment and send them in. So it's just another really kind of thing that we're trying to offer, because that's it's a big part of, especially these larger projects, what's needed.
And then we try to take care of the software end so that that's flawless.
Right. Yeah.
And it's
exactly.
worked out very, very well for all these years together. So it's interesting. But they're advanced, they're forward thinkers. And because when we met them, it was like, we not only want to give our customers the trucks wrapped, all the tools in it, and extensive ongoing training, we want to have EstimateRocket partner with us, and we want to give them the best software that money can buy. And it really blew me away that they were so dedicated to the minute details of everything that goes into a contractor owning a successful business.
Yeah. Well, you know, honestly, I wish I had it, because, you know, I used to have to go out, and the tough thing about when you do estimates yourself, you have to, if you need to train someone else, you have to train them how to do it. It takes time. They got to follow you around. And obviously you always want to do that, but it's a longer curve compared to just using a software that is just kind of honestly just magic behind the scenes, puts out, pretty good figures on what an idea what you need.
We
Yep.
well, we
You
have a
can
lot
me-
of
you
people
get it-
just like you here.
You work it down. You work it down to where they can measure and count, and hopefully you can come away with a legitimate, with a valid and profitable estimate.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Hey, can you tell us, talk some about like maybe your top 3 fun projects that you've done in terms of helping customers, what you explored and found out, or, I think it's always fun to hear about the in the field experiences, because let's face it, our audience watches it to find out, hey, what's, some interesting tidbit or story. So.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, probably one of my favorite just personal projects that I've kind of done. I've done soil nail walls. I've always thought those are really fun, and it's pretty much, large retaining walls that are starting to fail, and you remediate them by drilling through them actually, and putting in steel members to try and, like if as it starts to fail, you essentially acre it. And so as it starts to move, it gets more resistance in the soils behind it. And so it alleviates that movement. Those have always been fun. I love shoring projects too. Deep excavation projects. They're challenging. They're really reliant on the soil conditions, because you're using the soil as a source of strength during those type of projects. And then for here, I haven't been here all too long. But we do have a couple of exciting projects up in Canada. I'm involved with some projects that are in for some power companies, which have been really interesting. I've had to think about how foam is. They asked a lot of really interesting questions that I was kind of thinking, that's something to actually look into. So I think getting exposed to all these different industries, it's really interesting to hear the questions that they have, because you don't really have that step back of, what's their perspective on how this is all working. So that's, I think, just been the fun part, is to kind of hear the interesting perspective for people who don't know about it. They're hearing about it for the first time, and they're engineers, and they always have some really interesting thoughts about it. Sometimes it's questions I can't answer, but then we do a test and we're like, yep, here you go.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm assuming the perception of a lot of people, me included probably, is I don't really know what you can do with foam. And there's actually an amazing number of things you can do with foam and some of these other new like stabilization projects, which fundamentally are still foam, right? They just have, that foam has a different characteristic than other foams. Wow.
I think we're going to get more creative too, because a big thing that's kind of driving this industry is we're really running out of land to develop on that's easy and cheap to develop on. If you look around like big cities, it's just, stuff you don't really want to develop on. They've considered it. It's just too costly. And so now they're really focusing on more rehabbing areas and infrastructure that's aged, soils that have settled. I mean, we have aging infrastructure all across the United States, leaking pipes, leaking sewer lines. That's contributing to a lot of excess moisture that's, settling areas, or, maybe causing clay to swell. So a lot of different stuff is now being looked at. Instead of trying to just rip it out, replace it, you're trying to look for less invasive methods. And, there's always a new thing, that's coming across where I'm like, oh, this would be actually a cool application I didn't even think of before.
Okay, that is interesting.
Yeah, we live in a town that was built in the 1700s.
Yes,
I think, like before the American Revolution.
Yeah.
No, actually, north of Boston. It's Newburyport. It's a little coastal town up, but it's about a half hour north of Boston. But and even Boston though is it's an interesting story. In the Science Museum, they have this display of how they reclaimed all the land. It used to be basically a big swamp.
Right. Yeah. No, it's fascinating. I mean, I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, the West Coast, and everything over there is actually new. It's
Right.
Right.
really been interesting to kind of see it here in the Midwest and just the East Coast, how every building is a lot older. And so it's different problems that everyone has regionally. And yeah, I think Boston, I think they even there's some sewer lines that are even like just hollowed out wood logs, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
I think I think we
Oh my
had some of those in
gosh.
Newburyport too that just,
Right.
Really?
and they
Yeah.
just keep falling apart.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They're definitely at
Can they-
capacity.
When
Can
you
they
talked
actually
about the
line
walls,
those things with foam?
So you can seal with some of these new products that are coming out. Actually, you can seal cracks from the outside, and just prevent that water, or honestly, to soil. Soil also infiltrates into these cracks, and that actually
Right.
so
Sure.
say you just have any sort of void, and water's channeling into that pipe or whatever it is. It's also
Yeah.
bringing the smaller, finer soil particles with it. And that
Right.
is a loss of density, a loss of strength in that soil above, and it causes settlement. So you'll get some settlement around the area.
Sure.
And so, it could be really, you could just see settled concrete, but what's really going on? It actually could be something like that below that's causing it.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Very, very fun stuff.
so Will, do you think that AI can help you in any of your processes?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, that's hard to think about right now, but down the road, it could definitely take in a lot of data, and if you have enough, that's, I think the real challenge is there's a lot of historic data out there, but it's scanned pages, that's, like a lot of old geotech reports I read are just like scanned documents from the 50s or something.
Right.
Right.
And if it could, read it clearly and understand it, God, that'd be really helpful to be able to almost create a whole new boring log and, show you the soil conditions. So you don't have to search for it as much, and maybe you miss something, just visually, through skimming. So
Sure.
that would be a nice one. If there's like a database that it could start to assemble soil related information, water tables, things like that. I think it would help also contractors too, get an idea of within the area, because for this type of work, it's really local, and the more work you do, after a few years, you'd be like, oh, okay, this part of town, I have a feel for it. I have a feel for this, but it would really help accelerate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Absolutely.
How
do
do
some
you guys
research on what's out there for,
right
for that data. Yeah.
What about for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're starting some experiments and working. Got a few things that'll be coming out shortly, but mostly on writing assistance type things. But the big trick, as you just said, is you've got to have it actually be helpful in your specific, trade or business. You've got to give it knowledge about that business, and that's not something that you can say just, hey, go search for this, because it's not going to know the nuances of your business. So you got to train it with those specific, trade specific data, and then have it use that when you ask it a question or try to do research with it. So that's really the big secret, I think.
It seems like such a time investment, but it would probably be worth it. Really would be.
Yeah, we're definitely going down the AI rabbit hole. So we're excited about that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a fun one.
We already have several features that incorporate that technology. But we're going even deeper and deeper into it, and we'll continue to do it. But Will, I can't thank you enough for coming on this podcast and talking with us about HMI. It is such an interesting company. They're amazing, family owned, which of course all of us at EstimateRocket love, because we are one of those anomalies as well. You don't find it in the software industry anymore. But we can't say enough. And we have people who use EstimateRocket are pretty much the top performing contractors throughout the United States and the world. And a lot of those top performing contractors are smart enough to understand that how they can make the leap to the next level of income in their business is adding on another trade.
Yeah.
So you have not only all the EstimateRocket community listening to this podcast, which might be interested in adding another trade into the mix of their business so they can get to the next level. But we also have people that don't even belong to EstimateRocket listening to these podcasts as well. So, I think we've made a big point today at telling them how great and committed HMI is. The EstimateRocket team has worked personally with HMI for the last 10 years, and I hope to be working with them for 10 more years. And
50.
50 more years. And I can't say enough about the dedication to education. You guys are like us. If our contractors don't know how to use the software, we fail and they fail. And
Yeah.
HMI feels that same way. And there aren't companies that are willing to spend money on education. So I'm thrilled that, and that's why we partner with HMI, is because you guys are so dedicated. And we get a little sad because you guys even teach them how to use EstimateRocket. We want to be able to teach them too. So
Right.
they have you guys, they have us. They're always going to be hugely successful. And again, we bow our heads and we feel so honored to be part of your team, your extended family, your extended team. And we're dedicated here to support all the HMI contractors, whatever they need. We are always here to help them.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I thank you guys for having me, and I really enjoyed it. We'll
Our pleasure.
I
We're
look
going
forward
to
to
get
talking
you
more.
to come on again in the fall.
Yeah, we'll definitely
Okay.
definitely do it.
We'll have some more.
for sure.
We'll have some more
Yes.
projects to talk about.
Yes.
Very cool.
Thank you so
Great.
much,
Very
Will.
cool.
And if anyone wants to be able to get more information about HMI, they can contact me directly, Kathy with a K, at estimaterocket.com. I can give you the links to sign up or to talk to people at HMI, but they really are an amazing team. And I would highly recommend, if you're interested in getting into this trade, working with HMI is the way to go.
No question.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys.
Bye, Will.
Likewise,
Thank you
Will.
so
Take care.
much.
Enjoy your day.
You
Take care.
too.